cruise on the island. On the island, we do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. On the island, we do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. Mama in the kitchen cooking dinner really nice. Beef stew on the stove, lomi, salmon and ice. We eat and drink and sing all day. Kanakapila old Hawaiian way. Baby in the island, we do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. On the island, we do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. We go grandma's house on the weekend cleaning up. If we don't go, grandma goes to work so hard. You know my grandma, she likes a poetry sour. I love my grandma every minute, every hour. On the island, we do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the leeward to the leeward side. On the island, baby, we do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. Mama in the kitchen making dinner really nice. Beef stew on the stove, love, salmon and ice. We eat and drink and sing all day. Kanakapila in the old Hawaiian way. On the island, baby, we do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. On the island, baby, we do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the leeward to the leeward side. John Cruz is going to open up our program, the Algorithm's Low Value. Sometimes I do a piece of music to see if we can enjoy ourselves before we plunge into the hard stuff. Your host, Dr. Gilbert Githere, saying cha-cha. And now we start the program. Welcome to another session of Mazungumzo. This is your host, Dr. Gilbert Githere, coming to your homes with another session of Mazungumzo. This time we started with a song, On the Island by John Cruz, just to entertain you first. So when we get into the gist of the matter, because this is part 6 of the algorithm law of value. We are digesting this new paradigm, and I know you are in sync with it. So just kind of bring back what you know, and then we continue from here. Or you can go back and kind of digest part 5, and then you come to 6, because now we are into Bitcoin mining, blockchain mining. And this is the way you tally together, what is being produced by the digital world and how we remunerate it. We give it value. Because the fictitious law of value, as we discussed earlier, does not have a production to back it up. And that one we discovered is a big problem in the economy of the postmodern society. That's why you're seeing when people try to introduce bitcoins into the economy, they are having a problem. Because you see, there was Adam Smith, with new classical, economy, Samuelson and Milton Friedman, Schultz, and all these old economists. They had actually come with paradigms which supported the production at that time. Labor, capital, and all these kind of things, they had a way to measure them and how to evaluate what you're producing. But right now with the Bitcoin economy, we haven't gotten what is going to support it monetarily. When you say marginal cost, marginal revenue, those kind of things, we have got to come up with terms from in the digital world to synchronize the two. And that's what we are trying to do. Let me now continue with blockchain mining. Its measure is nonce, N-O-N-C-E. That's the measure of the digital world and Bitcoin mining. Token production. And token, you can see nowadays, when you're on the internet and you're going to pay for something, you always see that token are the methods of payment. So we're going to see whether that's the way to go, I don't know whether that is really the measure, but we are kind of just coming up with ideas. If you have your own ideas, you can contact me or you can put it up and we can see why blockchain matters to the algorithmic law of value. A blockchain mining becomes like a way that is going to become a measure of value in the system of a logarithmic law of value. Because you see, when Jean Bourriard in the structural law of value, we found out that we will be living in a simulation. The hyperreality, just the term hyperreality, is a vertiginous, is a simulation. And I gave you an example. You enter a plane, in LaGuardia in New York, and in a simulation form, you kind of play you're flying to John Wayne Airport in California. It's a simulated flight. So when you finish the flight, the sensation is that you are flying. You are in the air. And you drank some coffee, might be. There was stewardess serving you. But when you came out, you're at LaGuardia. You didn't go anywhere. It's a simulated economy. So we are trying to get away from the simulation and come to reality on the ground, so that when the economy is running, there are things being produced, tangible merchandise. Like we can build a 3D house, a 3D plane, and then people are remunerated. They are paid using token because work has been done. So we are trying to get away from simulated life to reality, a digital reality economy. That's what we are looking for. So now I continue with our discussion. The argument of the earlier chapters is that the value in a logarithmic economy cannot rest on labor, utility, or symbolic circulation alone. It must rest on verified occurrence. Blockchain mining is one of the clearest technical environments in which this thesis can be made visible. A blockchain does not reward claims, because hedge funds reward claims. But blockchain does not actually honor claims. It's real. It will honor 3D production. It does not honor intentions or narratives or expectations because those are unreal. They're just words. It rewards completed computational event that can be publicly checked after the fact. The chain is therefore not merely a ledger. It is an infrastructure for deciding when an event counts and when it does not count. So blockchain, which is actually already existing, is a reality. But it has got to be connected to what we call, like when you're producing a 3D production items. Is this the way we're gonna pay for them? I think that could be the case. Mining as constrained occurrence. Now, also to get to Bitcoin, there is work to be done. It's just like you're mining for gold. And I explained a little bit. It has a lot of investment. For you to do blockchain mining, you go to invest in data centers. You're hearing everybody's talking that they are going to invest in data centers. That's a very important fact for you to kind of have at the back of your mind. That's why people are building data centers. Because when you mine Bitcoins, there has got to be capital invested in it. There has to be labor. There has to be capital to be invested. And land, you got to have land. So dry lands in most of the Americas is being utilized to build data centers. Mining as constrained occurrence. Constraint is investment. Mining should not be understood as the creation of meaning. It is the performance of constrained computation under public rules. A miner assembles candidate block data and repeatedly varies a nonce until the resulting hash satisfies the network's difficulty target. Millions of attempts may occur, but only a successful result becomes economically operative. This distinction is crucial for the present theory, the algorithmic law of value. That is the theory now. The swarm of attempts belong to simulation, search, and possibility. That is simulated because the occurrence an event has not occurred. So when you are doing blockchain mining, you're still in simulation. The economy has not produced an item until the time you have a signature and signification that a production has been done of gold, and this is nonce in a hash HASH. The successful nonce belongs to occurrence. It marks the exact point where computational effort becomes countable value. Nonce as a measure, not a symbol. It's not a fictitious symbol. It's not a fictitious production, fictitious value. No, nonce is a measure. It has a value. And that's why tokens are the ones become the measure of a nonce. Within this framework, the nonce is not valuable because it signifies anything. It is valuable because it marks a completed passage through constraint. Its physical importance lies precisely in its lack of semantic depth. The nonce does not tell a story. It does not represent preference, desire, or utility. It only differentiates the successful event from the infinite field of unsuccessful possibilities. In this sense, the nonce functions as a minimum measure of occurrence. It is the narrow gate through which simulation must pass in order to become an irreversible, verifiable event. So we are trying to rationalize simulation, because we travel from LaGuardia in the simulation and we arrive at Duke Airport in California. So in our mind, we traveled. But is it a tangible travel that when we alighted, we were still at LaGuardia? Now we are trying to give the simulation a physical movement in air. We fly from LaGuardia to Duke John Wayne Airport in California, and we arrive there. We are trying to make that real. It's a very complicated, actually, situation. Hyperreality is not real. That's why people are struggling to make it real. Hashing and the production of scarcity. Now, hashing is that signature where you get that this is an event has occurred. At the end of blockchain mining, that chain connects to the other one. At the end, when you really have a real tangible production, which is called hash, and that has a token value. That's now what we are trying to speak, hashing and production of scarcity. The hash is a publicly inspectable trace that links private computation to collective verification. Once a block hash is found, any node on the network can check whether the difficulty condition has been satisfied. Scarcity in such a system is therefore not imposed by interpretation, but by cryptographic constraints. The costliness of mining is not rhetorical, it is operational. Energy, machine time, hardware, wear, and probabilistic search are consumed in order to produce one acceptable result. The result is scarce because it could not be cheaply replayed into existence after the fact. So the hash, which signifies there has been an event which has occurred and value has been given to the event, the hash is so important. Just digest that. It kind of sounds hard, but we are giving value to the simulation. Why token issuance is legitimate in this model. Now the hash itself, now we are going to give it value. It's like a cent. When people invented money, they invented cent, 1 cent. This token we have now found here from the hash in the Bitcoin mining, it's like a cent. The token is 1 cent. Now we are creating a system of value. Why token issuance is legitimate in this model? In classical systems, a wage may be paid because labor is presumed to have occurred. In financialized systems, a price may arise because expectations have circulated. In blockchain mining, however, issuance follows verification. A valid block causes the network to recognize a reward, and the associated token units become legitimate because they are tied to a verified event. In Bitcoin, this appears as the block subsidy plus transaction fees assigned in the coin-based transaction. Within the algorithmic law of value, this is a model case of enumeration. The system counts only what has been operationally completed. That's a mouthful, but right there you can see we are almost coming with an answer to our problem. The rejection of fictitious surplus. Because we must go back and see why are we going and trying to get a mode of linking digital money with tangible production. When you do a 3D printing of a house to live in, what is going to give it value? It has to have a measure to give it value. Now, that was what we are searching, and I think this could be the answer to it. And now we got to go back and see why are we rejecting fictitious surplus. We got to do away with fictitious value, because fictitious surplus is that you travel in a simulated format, but you have not gained ground. You have not moved from LaGuardia in New York to Duke John Wayne Airport. You haven't covered any distance, because that is fictitious. That is exactly what hedge funds and stocks and all this kind of running our economy have done to us. We are living in a simulated world. We got to come back to earth. And this can only happen if we can synchronize digital economy to 3D production. There has to be that link. Blockchain mining also clarifies why the theory opposes fictitious surplus. Tokens cannot be validly issued merely because someone narrates future work or symbolically depreciates a claim. The chain only recognizes the block that satisfies its rules. Thus, the network does not reward promise as promise. It rewards the provable event. This is why the nonce, the measure I talked about before, is the opposite of fictitious surplus. The nonce is the one which will take us away from simulation. Fictitious surplus multiplies claims without completed occurrence. You have hedge funds, they're only promising you that in the future there will be wheat produced of a certain value. It's a promise. They're claiming there will be production equivalent to the hedge funds you have invested in. That's a simulation economy. Although it is working, sometimes you catch up and then there are people producing wheat somewhere. But the economy cannot continuously continue to be in a simulated mode. There has to be some rationality brought into it and reality. We got to get back to nature. Now, fictitious surplus multiplies claims without completed occurrence. The nonce participates in the exact opposite movement. It reduces an ocean of possibility to one accepted, verifiable, and irreversible event. So you can see the nonce has become our answer here. It has helped us to kind of get away from that simulated mode. Mining, competition, and public verification. Now we are coming back to Earth. Blockchain mining is competitive, but its competition is structurally different from speculative circulation. Miners race to solve a difficulty condition, yet the winner is not selected by prestige, interpretation, or institutional rhetoric. The winner is selected because the network can verify the block. Public verification makes the event transferable from one machine's local activity to the whole system's accepted reality. Once this happens, value no longer depends on belief in a proposition. It depends on whether the event passes through the collective validation. That is a very, very important point for you to digest. Just kind of try and digest it, because that is so important. Because now we're back to nature. The items have value now. Fictitious surplus is gone because of the nonce. From block to token. Because also when you mine gold, it has got to go to the Federal Reserve, and it has got to get into circulation as a valuable item. Even if you have gold in hand, it has to go to have $4,000 equivalent value. Now, token is the one which gives nonce the value. A block is not itself a token. I said gold is not money. That's the equivalent. Gold is not money, but is the event through which token issuance becomes legitimate. The Federal Reserve, you walk in with gold, oh, they sit up. Oh, Gilbert, you come with gold? Welcome. Here is your $4,000, $4,500, I think the value now. That's the equivalent. Now, a token has given blockchain mining, the nonce, a value. The chain records a state transition. Transactions are ordered. The block is linked to prior blocks, and the reward is specified according to protocol rules. You are given the money at the Federal Reserve, equivalent to your gold, because of the standards we have created over time. Here, the paper's core thesis becomes concrete. Tokens are not primary. Verified occurrence is primary. The token is the economic remainder or countable registration of the verified event. In the philosophical terms, because we always have got to go to philosophy, because philosophy was invented for the verification of the things we do on earth. That is the Western world. The philosophers have to philosophize and say, is the nonce going to be equated with token? So the philosophers, as I'm doing, are philosophizing to see if can be true. The chain does not first create meaning and then derive value. It first verifies occurrence and only then permits enumeration. So you can see philosophers have kind of agreed that, okay, you can use nouns to verify that that's the value. Formula for chapter, now we are going to the logic of remuneration. Remuneration, we have said down a token can actually help nouns and what you mine have value. You take gold to a Federal Reserve, they give you $4,000 or $4,500 for an ounce. Now in blockchain, you take an ounce to the Federal Reserve. They give you how many tokens? Might be 4,500 tokens for an ounce of nonce. Enumeration statement. Blockchain mining demonstrates that in an algorithmic economy, value can be issued only after a nonce-guided computational event becomes a verified block, making the token a counted effect of occurrence rather than a symbolic claim about future value. We are taking simulation away from our economy because we are living in simulation, which we can not do permanently. We're going to get into problems. And until we meet again, I think I have done 28 minutes. I'm going to give you time to digest what I have said and see, does it make sense really? This is your host, Gilbert Githere, saying bye until we meet again. I hope you have enjoyed also the piece I have given and the music I did in the beginning. Until we meet again, this is your host saying ciao until we meet again.